Hey, moms and dads, it's Michael. If you're listening to this episode of Bigfoot Collectors Club with your kids in the car, first of all, congratulations, you're a weird parent, and your kids know swear words. That's cool.
Awesome.
Secondly, we're going to get into some Christmas spoilers involving a certain jolly old Saint Nick.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't want Christmas spoiled or any plot devices revealed to your children yet, then maybe wait until later to listen to this episode. Merry Christmas, everyone!
Jingle jangle.
Oh.
Hit it.
It's Bigfoot Collectors Club with Bryce and Michael. I know a ghost story or two. Let's do this.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Fuck yeah.
We always know it's going to be a good time when our guest is just bobbing along, being like, fuck yeah, to this
Hell
music.
yeah.
Hell
And
yes,
that's
man.
to the voice of Sassy, performed by none other than Pete Gardner, TV's Pete Gardner. Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Bigfoot Collectors Club. I am your host, Michael McMillan. With me always is your other host,
Bryce Johnson.
and your trusty producer.
Riley Bray.
And as you already know, this is the show where we share personal stories, paranormal histories. This is the show where we talk to amazing guests about their personal paranormal histories and share stories of high strangeness. Today's guest is already chuckling. Ladies and gentlemen, you probably know her from a million things. She's an actor and comedian. She's also host and co-host of a Funny Feeling podcast, which has a lot in common with the one you're listening
It
to.
sure does.
And Horny for Horror.
Woo!
Everyone, please welcome Betsy Sodaro.
Yay!
Thank you for having me.
What's up, Bets?
Oh, man, I'm excited
Man,
to
this-
talk to you guys
I know.
about this.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's do this.
Yeah, I'm
thanks-
so pumped.
I know. I've been trying to get you on the show for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
You're busy.
Oh, man. Hollywood, baby.
Shit, what can you say?
Honestly, it's other podcasts.
I know, right?
That's like becoming the new thing. It's just like, I got like almost the new improv shows. Like, I got to go do some
the new
podcasts
circuit.
now.
How many more do you have today?
None.
Okay, good.
Wait, no, actually one more.
Oh, that's awesome.
I got Funny Feeling tonight.
Oh,
so,
nice. Oh, yeah. If you're listening to this, and you got to go check out a Funny Feeling podcast.
Yeah, it's ghost. We just talk to our friends about their ghost stories
Yeah.
and stuff.
Oh, that's a good idea for a show. We
Yeah,
should
it's
maybe
pretty
do
cool,
something
right?
like that.
That's
Pretty cool,
awesome.
huh?
Is it only ghosts, or do you guys get into anything else?
We get into kind of anything. Yeah, pretty much anything else.
Cool.
But mostly it's like, okay, tell your story. And sometimes it is like, I think I saw an alien
Yeah.
or a UFO. You know, it kind of whatever.
Awesome.
We should compare
Yeah.
notes.
Yeah.
Also, I was going through your guest list, and I was like, okay, I know I can get all these people to
Yeah,
repeat
let's
their
swap.
story.
You
on
guys
this
want to just
one.
swap guest lists?
Guess
Just
swap.
trade it out.
I mean, you guys should both come on our show.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It'd be really
man.
fun.
Whoa, we'd
Oh,
love
dude,
to.
Okay.
that'd be great.
Done.
Yeah, done.
Great.
Done.
Let's do it.
Great.
Hey, let's record. Hey, let's just record this right now. This is
There
the
we
episode.
go. Yeah, and I'll just use it for hours.
No.
Crossover.
So we talked to our guests about their personal paranormal history. How the hell
Yeah.
did you get into this shit to begin with?
I've always been really into it ever since I was little. I think being Catholic
Oh yeah,
kind of made me into it and scared of it.
Yeah.
You
Totally.
know?
because you got your Holy Ghost.
You got your Holy Ghost, you got the devil.
Yeah.
But I was always kind of like, it's really fun.
It's very supernatural.
And I've always loved Halloween. Like as a kid, Halloween was just my jam. And I think it's just that, like, I don't know, I get a big rush from looking for spooky stuff.
Yeah. You're the first person I think who's ever described Catholicism as fun.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is.
Because it's, what if I was a big Catholic head? Like, I was like, I go every Sunday to church and I love
Wednesday
it.
Mass, I'm there.
Oh, God. Ash Wednesday is my fucking
It's my
favorite
jam.
day. No, I think that's what got me. I mean, because it was fucking thrown in our face all the time. But then I took the fun spin of it of like, ooh, that's spooky.
Right.
Totally.
You found the fun. You made it fun.
I tried.
Yeah, like a
I hated
true
it so much.
actor and comedian, you found
Thank you.
found
and
the
I
fun in
followed
it.
The
You
fun.
Yeah.
That's what life's all about, following the fun. But I think because it was so, this is a thing.
Well, I was thinking that the other day. They treat it so literal. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you've got like this supernatural being like Jesus who raises people from the dead,
Yes.
who like can feed a whole crowd from like a nothing. And then you're just like, wait, did this really happen? And they're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, but nothing ever happens like that today. And they're like, oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Wait,
no.
I'm
It's
so
like, why
confused.
not,
Yeah.
man?
That's
Totally.
That's what always baffled me. I was like, well, why aren't there still like clouds talking and
Yes.
angels showing up and helping people out
Yeah,
when they
why-
fall down a
There
well?
are,
Exactly. Why isn't it raining, what is it, fish and bread
Yeah.
to all
It was-
these people starving?
It was
Totally.
like 2,000 years ago, everything was Lord of the Rings, and then it
Yes.
just suddenly stopped.
And I will say, my parents are, they're very liberal.
Yeah.
And they were, from day one, just very much like, hey, the Bible is a piece of literature. We don't think it's that. You
Right,
know?
that's
so they
great.
were all, but then a lot of people who I was surrounded by, like CCD teachers and shit, were
Oh,
Yeah.
very
for
much like
sure.
this. And I was like, no fucking way is this.
Right. Talking snakes, burning bushes.
Yeah.
Like that shit went
Get that
down.
out of here, man.
Totally.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like I had friends in high school. Like I ran around with a bunch of Christian girls. They were good girls, and I had big crushes on
That
them.
was creepy, man.
Totally.
they,
They
were,
were
awesome.
good girls.
they were all like saving themselves for marriage.
Oh, yeah.
But they all had like boyfriends that then they would tell them, they would call me and tell me what they did with their boyfriends that were like breaking the rules,
Oh,
but
man.
like still
So kinky.
yeah,
No,
and I had to listen
technically-
to all this stuff and I was
Oh,
like,
shit.
what? Yeah. It was
you like, you know they're going to hell, right?
Yeah.
And
you
you
go
might-
with someone good.
You might be following.
Hey guys, it's Riley. Sorry for the interruption. At this point, the computer cut out and we lost a few seconds of audio that were corrupted. Actually, ever since Adela Levine was in here talking about ghosts messing with electronics, we've been having some funny issues with our computer. Anyways, at this point, Michael was saying that the final straw for him was when these Christian girls that he was hanging out with told him that he shouldn't be watching Star Wars. I'll let him pick it up from there. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Star Wars. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, well, because don't the characters use something called the Force? Like, only God has that power. You're not supposed to have any magic powers
You
unless you're
bummers.
God or Jesus. And I was like, what are you talking about? I remember being like, if anything, it's an allegory
Yes,
for God.
for good and
for
evil,
good
man.
and evil. And you should watch it because it's all the same lessons as your dumb Bible.
Exactly. That's too much. I don't like that at
Yeah,
all. When they're
that-
just taking the fun out of. I mean, that's all.
Yeah, that is
Now
not.
I'm very anti.
I know. That's not hashtag following the fun
Thank
at all.
you.
No, it's not.
Think about it, religion.
New podcast coming from Michael McMillan and Betsy Sodaro.
What's
Spring
fun?
2000.
Let's follow it. My family was also very into like Halloween and scaring us too. Like my parents would let us watch horror movies. They would tell us like scary stories and scare the shit out of us. It was really fun. So I think I was just kind of like, yep, this is fun.
What kind
It
of shit would
is.
your parents do to scare you?
One thing that has always stuck in my mind is we watched, and I've talked about it on Horny for Horror, and I think people found, or I think my sister, and I found what I was talking about, but I can't remember. It was like, I think a TV episode where there was a nurse like missing some fingers
Ugh.
or something like
Oh,
that.
wait.
Do you know what I'm
Are
talking
you talking
about?
about the film Cloak and Dagger? You might be talking about Cloak and Dagger because there's like an older woman with missing fingers.
Is
It's
she
like
a
one of the
nurse?
villains.
Like
I think
Dabney
she might-
Coleman, right?
Yeah, she might
So
play a
good.
nurse in it. She's like part of this elderly couple that are going after these kids.
It might be
Because
that.
that was super freaky. There's a scene where she
Horrifying.
holds up her fingers to the little kid, and she's like missing some, and I don't know what it was. It's a juxtaposition of that actress's like face, and
Yes.
and as a kid, I was just like, "Whoa."
It's horrifying. And I remember after whatever it was we watched, my parents were saying goodnight and like held up their hands to make it look like they were missing fingers, and we're just like, "Oh God, it's happening!" Like, just kind of little stuff like that here and there. And my dad worked at this old. He was a middle school teacher, and this was when I was living in Wyoming, which was a very short time. A middle school teacher, but in the summers worked at a living history fort called Fort Laramie.
No way.
Wow.
And there were all of these ghost stories that he would hear from other employees there. And so he would tell us that, and we would like go around and explore, like a floating candelabra in the window. And like in the barracks you could hear soldiers like stomping around and like screaming and stuff.
Oh my God.
And me and my sisters were just like, we gotta find these ghosts, man.
Making history fun there.
Yeah, making history. See, yeah.
Dad knew how to do it.
I'll go on any spooky tour.
Yeah.
But any regular history tour? Now that's
No
a
way.
snore. I did. So yeah, I think we were just kind of, I was always into it.
Yeah, it sounds like your
It's so
folks are
fun.
into it too.
Yeah.
What did your dad teach history? What was his?
He taught English.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Same thing.
There's a lot of ghosts in the English lit.
It is.
For sure.
Christmas Carol.
We're going to talk about some of that today,
Ah.
as a matter of fact.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Oh.
Shit, yeah.
My dad my dad had this old like latex Halloween mask
Ew.
of an old man's face
Sick.
with like,
Yeah.
with like curly white hair coming out the sides of it.
Yes.
And he called it Fred, and we kept it in the basement. And every now and then my dad would put on Fred, and he would go outside, especially if I had like a birthday party, because my birthday is in October.
Oh,
And
nice.
so it's like always leading up to Halloween.
Yeah.
And I remember we all were having like pizza in my kitchen, and we all look outside, and my dad is standing in the Fred mask in the window.
That's
and kids
awesome.
lost their shit.
I'm sure. That's like I don't want kids. I'll never have them. But if I had kids, I would scare the shit out of them all the time. I would do that stuff constantly.
I like
Yeah.
that your dad would just wait till your birthday to do that.
I know.
Happy birthday, Michael.
He was probably like 3 scotches in and was like, nah, I hate noise. I'm going to go scare these
I'm going to
kids.
shut them up in a traumatizing way.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
My dad would also, when he did get mad, he would, like, if I had a sleepover, I always knew it was time to shut up because my dad would just pound. My parents' room was right above mine. I had a room. It was very traumatizing for a number of reasons. I had a room on the ground floor that looked out into the woods, and if
all just glass doors.
yeah, pretty much. And if we were being too loud, my dad would pound on the ceiling, like on the floor, and we just hear boom, boom, boom. We're like, ugh.
That's
Which
the
is
scariest thing as a kid.
to get a pounding sound coming from nowhere.
Yeah.
As you're like giggling.
Yeah.
It's like, ugh.
Still as an adult, like if you have neighbors where they're just like, it's horrifying.
Yeah, I grew up in an anxiety factory. It was
Yeah.
it was just
Guilty
an
conscience.
incubation for fear
Yeah.
and anxiety.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Did you have a moment where in your life you realized, like, I started having really bad panic attacks when I was like 18.
Mhm.
And I finally went to the doctor because I was like, I think I'm dying. And I had to I was like to my parents, I wasn't eating. And finally they're like, oh, you have panic attacks. You've had them your whole life. And I had that moment of like, whoa,
Yep.
and remembering
Whoa.
all of these moments as a kid where I thought I was just sick or something. And I was like, that was a damn panic attack.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely had that. They were called night terrors.
Oh,
And I would hallucinate. I'd wake up and see things standing over me for like a split second, and they would vanish,
No.
and I'd scream and kick. And that started happening to me again as an adult. And then like I went to therapy because
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm freaking out at night when I
Yes.
should be resting my little head.
Oh.
And then we started, like, as I was talking about, I was like, wait a minute. I did that when I was 4. I did that for a while in elementary school. I
Isn't-
did it in high school. And you just start to connect all the dots and go,
Yeah.
shit, I've always done this.
Yeah.
And my therapist is like, yeah, when you get really stressed and anxious, this is how it manifests itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just weird because I think, like, and it's always it's always like some kind of supernatural feeling too. So it's like this is just hardwired in my consciousness in some really weird way. You know? She's like, some people like, will clench up and just like their car, stop driving their cars and just sit on the side of the freeway. She's like, you wake up in the middle of the night and think you see like phantom ladies in green dresses standing over your bed,
Yeah, which makes you then start to think, hey, is this what has been happening to a lot of people who think they're haunted?
Sure.
Yeah, maybe.
Absolutely. But I've also had other experiences that were not attached to that, and they were very different.
Yeah.
I will say it is terrifying like, the night terror stuff is pretty terrifying because it does feel very supernatural. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some weird shit waking up in the middle of the night for a split second.
Yeah.
You're like, wow.
God.
And then you just get this rush of like your heart's like racing, and you're like, I think I just screamed really loud.
Yes.
And I may have woken up all the neighbors, and then you're like embarrassed about it. So anyway, I'm a single man. If any ladies are looking,
Doesn't that sound awesome?
There you go.
I might wake you up in the middle of the night.
screaming.
Oh, God.
Did you have nightmares as a kid?
Yeah, but I can't really. None that really have stuck with me. I had the classic, like, I've had this one a few times, being in a bathroom and then seeing, hearing the door open and, like, big boots coming in.
Oh, wow.
And, like, sitting on the toilet just trying to stay quiet.
Ooh,
I've had that a few times. But nothing too, the worst dreams that I've had forever is, like, having a dream about someone like dying who I love.
Oh.
When you wake up and you're just like, oh, my day is ruined now.
Yeah.
Where you're like, I gotta call whoever or whatever.
You're gonna die.
Yeah. And warn them.
Yeah.
I have to warn them. No. But that, not too once in a while when I'm stressed, I'll have that, like, I'll have a dream that I'm either just like walking down a street I know and I get mugged or something, and I'll have that kind of like I can't do anything, and I'll wake up kind of paralysis, but still in the dream.
Still in it.
And then I'll wake up just like, oh, fuck. Okay, that didn't really happen, but it felt so real. But nothing too nuts.
Right.
Sometimes I'll have those dreams of like, I'm married, and like you'll have a dream of like your wife cheating on you or something, and it's so real. Like you wake up and you're like mad. You're like mad
Totally.
at them.
Yes.
And they're like, good morning, and you're like, fuck you. you know what you did. I mean, you don't, but you should. You should know what you did.
Yeah,
And it's very real. You're like
I have some
the emotions.
really real dreams where it's like friends stop talking to me.
Right.
And that's horrifying. And I wake up and I'm like, are they mad at me? Because it is just, it feels so real.
Yeah.
And it feels like, ew, if this is what were to happen,
Yeah.
These
this
are like
is how it would happen.
This is like real fears of adulthood.
Yeah.
My adult friends don't talk to me anymore. I'm alone now.
I know, I'm
my
alone
wife
now.
is cheating on me.
Oh,
my
God.
I can't pay my rent.
That's
Yeah.
very scary. I will still have dreams where I'm it's like college and I don't know where any of my classes are
Oh.
or
Yeah.
whatever. But I'll then be me now and I'll straight up say in my dreams, like, it doesn't fucking matter.
Right.
I'm already done. I already did this shit, but I'll still be like, I gotta find math.
I have that one a lot where it's not, it's different from the I got to take a test I haven't studied for.
Yeah.
It's that for some reason I got to go back to college or school, and I realize that I've missed an entire semester of a course, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to repeat this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like showing up to class, and I'm supposed to like follow along with the
Yes.
assignment. I'm like, I don't even know what we're talking about.
Yeah, what
Why
is
have I
this?
missed all this school? And then I'll wake up and I'll feel guilty about it. And it takes a good 2 minutes for me to be like, dude, that did not happen.
Isn't that so strange?
Yeah. Or I have a dream where it's that theater dream where you're supposed to get on stage and
Yeah.
perform a musical you haven't done in 30 years.
Yes.
And just as you're about to step on stage, you wake up. And then I'm like, oh my God, I let my entire cast down.
Yeah.
I didn't
Oh,
show
yeah.
up for the play. And then I was like, no. That was
Nope,
just
it's all in your head.
Forgetting
Just a
lines,
dream.
dreams.
Forgetting
the
lines, dreams.
Those are the worst.
The new one is that I'm at a table read, and I've got my script, and I'm in front of people that I've never worked for before, and it's my turn to read my lines, and all of my lines all my dialogue is written in emojis. And I have to interpret what the lines are based on the symbols on the page.
That sounds like a
Write
fun
script
game.
like that.
That is wild. That would drive me nuts.
The worst feeling ever.
I'll have that where it's like, okay, here's the script, memorize it, and then you have like before a pretty much sides or whatever. Like, we got you new sides. Here you go. And I like my eyes can't focus in on it, and it's horrifying.
No.
Yeah.
Have you ever found yourself lucid in a dream?
No, I want to try that. Do you know how to do that?
I do.
He's a lucid wizard.
I used to do it, but it's so much work.
Is it?
It's a lot of work to get like. So, for instance, I was practicing it for like 4 or 5 months, and I really only came up with like 7 or 8 lucid dreams.
Okay.
So like,
And he had sex with celebrities and all of them.
I wasted all of them. I just
That's good.
I wasted all of them.
That's what he was doing. He told us this last year.
I love that.
Sorry.
So
And
much.
you'll never let it go.
Who were your celebrities?
Oh, I'm sure there was
Abraham
a few
Lincoln.
of them.
Brad Pitt.
Abraham Lincoln. Brad Pitt was in there for sure.
He
Lincoln
had a
and
really
Pitt.
long, skinny
Oh my
dick.
God.
They wore a little top hat.
And a tiny top hat.
But with an alien head.
Oh my
Yes.
Still with the
God.
beard.
Oh, hell yeah. Gotta
You
have
know,
that
and what,
beard.
like, for instance, what some of the cool things that you could do is like you could find your like your inner self, and like your own, like you can talk to like your own inner self about questions you have about your life, or you can ask like whatever you call it, the higher power or the universe, any kind of question you want. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with lucid dreaming.
But everybody just wants to
But it
fuck.
happens so it's so funny.
Very human.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really
like,
it's really shocking when you wake up when you find yourself lucid in a dream that you're like, okay, you only have a few seconds to decide how you want to spend the time.
Whoa.
So you really have to kind of like preset your determinations before. But for instance, a lot of the work that I talk about is like you have to do a dream journal every morning, because the first thing
Okay.
you have to do is learn how to remember your dreams.
Okay.
there's
I hear Betsy's interest dwindling rapidly.
I
So it's a lot of work.
So there's homework.
Oof. Okay.
Right, yeah.
God.
But I'll
Okay.
tell you what, when you're in the dream and you're lucid, all the senses are there and they're almost heightened. So there's sense of touch, smell, being aware that you can actually change your environment. You can, fly, and you can do pretty much anything. You can bring things into. It's a really cool feeling.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's some great books on how to, and there's a lot of good YouTube videos on like quick ways to do it, but I've never found like a quick way to get it done.
Yeah. You
know?
gotta put the work
But-
in. 10,000 hours.
Yeah, some people it happens
you-
naturally very fast for them, so that's why I was asking.
Oh my God. I'm gonna try it.
Give it a try.
I'll give it a
We
shot.
spend a lot of our time dreaming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Might as well learn how to like do something.
Yeah,
with
30
it.
of your life.
Yeah.
When I was a kid with those nightmares when I was little, I somehow taught myself as a child to, like, while I was sleeping, move my hand up to my eyelid and pry my eyelids open to
If I saw
to
a
wake
child
my-
doing that in sleep, I would have to put the pillow over their face. Like, nope.
You're done.
Oh my God. How did you do that?
I had horrible nightmares.
Oh, that is so sad.
Oh my God. Yeah, and I would be like opening my eyes up just to force myself away
That is so
with my thumb
sad.
and forefinger.
That's awesome.
Jesus Christ, that's so scary. You remember?
Just a tiny trembling
Oh,
hand moving towards his own face.
Michael, wake up. Michael, just wake up. Michael, just wake up. No! Oh, that's so sad. Oh my God, I could never have kids.
No
Poor
way.
Michael.
I can't do
What?
it. That's so sad.
Oh,
Oh,
I was
God.
a sensitive child.
Yeah.
Whoa, sorry, you were about to launch into something.
What was? I
Sounded-
forgot what I was gonna say.
Yeah, it happens.
Well, I'll break it with this. What
Okay.
is your personal paranormal history? Have you ever seen anything, or did you ever have anything strange happen to you?
No, I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've had like little things, but I don't. But no, I'm down for it.
We'll
but
take
also
the little
like
things too, by the way.
take the little
Yeah.
things. this is more nothing. This is more of a goofy thing, kind of an urban legend thing of like when I was in 4th grade, my 4th grade class, we were going to this awesome national park called Mesa Verde, where there are these really rad ruins.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah,
on a
it's
road
incredible.
trip as a kid. Yeah,
It's really a beautiful place with these old, awesome ruins built into the
cliff
canyon,
sides. Yeah,
into the cliff sides. And as a warm up, they had our 4th grade class stay the night at the high school. Just as like a fun Friday night thing.
wow.
And to be like, you guys are going to go
Slumber party at the high
camping
school.
for 4 days, learn how to just be away from home a little bit.
right.
And there's an urban legend about this woman named Virginia Brown.
Oh, I cannot wait.
Ooh. And it's the classic, like on prom night, she was waiting for her boyfriend to pick her up, and then she got like hit by a car.
Oh no.
She was like on the side of the road waiting for him to pick her up, got hit by a car, was killed on prom night, and now haunts the school
Whoa.
or whatever. And so we're there spending the night, and our teachers tell us this, and then they are pretty much like, go look for her. And so we had the
Go
whole
look for
high
her.
school to run around, and you know how in high schools they put
You
up
must
like,
have been so excited.
I was so fucking pumped. And you
We're
know,
gonna find this bitch.
we're gonna fucking
Betsy
find Virginia
takes
Brown.
off running ahead of
Like,
everybody else.
dude. And you know how in high schools they put up all the old class photos.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing this from like my sisters and dad about Virginia Brown, so I knew that her photo was there.
Oh, that makes it creepy.
And so I was like, let's go to her photo. And we went, and my friend Jason, and we're in 4th grade, Jason was sitting there staring at her photo, and he starts sobbing, and he's like, her eyes are red. Her eyes are red. And he starts fucking crying a bunch, and then all the other kids just start screaming, and we just run away.
Were her eyes red?
No, you kidding me? I was into it though. I was like, yeah, her eyes were fucking red.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Flames.
awesome. We
Fire.
found her, dude. She's so mad she
Look at
didn't
her
get to
crying
prom.
blood.
And I honestly, I don't know if she ever actually did die. I think it was just kind of a fun, like, old lady, like, you know, that, I don't know.
There was a rumor in my middle school. Okay, so we had this like little courtyard in the middle of the school that kids didn't really use at all. It was
Yeah.
kind of small and depressing, to be honest, but there was a mound in the courtyard, and there
A
was
grave.
there was always there was a rumor that, and I just always believed it. My
Yeah.
sister was older than me. I think it was told when she was there.
Yes.
And when I was there, that there was a guy, like an old janitor, was buried out.
old
I think
janitor.
so, and that his ghost haunted the school. But it was just so funny. It was like one of those things that I just accepted as
Yeah.
fact. Like, and there's an unmarked grave in this courtyard
Yeah.
Right.
next to my social studies classroom.
And it's
that-
also fun.
Yeah,
like,
it's
it's
all-
more just fun to be like, yeah, cool, it's a grave.
yeah, it made middle school a little more bearable to think that there's a dead man buried on the ground somewhere.
With high school vocations, and there's a math teacher buried out there next to him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no way.
Whoa.
That would be a really cool lock-in night if, like, you know how there's like escape rooms. If there were some cool teachers who wanted to give their kids a thrill, like
Yeah.
set up a whole like haunted storyline
That
quest.
would be awesome.
You know what I mean? For the kids to go
Yes.
figure out the puzzles.
You gotta
all
do
night.
puzzles
That
where
would
it's
be
like,
awesome.
and then in the morning, the scariest reveal is you kids learned something. You had to use math, social studies to figure out shit.
You got to look stuff up in the library, but like
Yes,
you can't use
but it's all
you can't use
fun.
you can't use the internet because like the
Of
the electricity is
course.
down, so you got to use the old stuff.
I think
Dewey
we have
Decimal.
a business, you guys.
I thought you were going to say the twist was that in the morning you discover you murdered Virginia Brown to the kids. It was like, and then the cops come arrest you.
Oh no, it was me.
I think it'd be fun if you did like a whole thing where you could do like just a night of like bring out the Ouija board and then do like a
Yes.
little seance and then do like light as a feather, stiff as a board.
Yes.
And then do Bloody Mary and then
Yes.
send them home in the next morning. Just like a whole like obstacle course of like supernatural activities.
Yeah, did
That'd
you
be fun.
Did you ever do light as a feather, stiff as a board as a kid?
I'm sure we tried, but I don't remember it ever working.
We did it once, and I can't remember where it was with who. We were all sitting in like crisscross applesauce style with 2 fingers under this kid.
Yeah?
And we lifted him up.
No,
I'm not kidding.
really?
It was like about 6 inches, and we all freaked out. It
That's
totally
horrifying.
worked.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I wish I had more details on that to sound credible, but
We did
Let's do it right
like
now to
Bloody
Riley.
Mary.
I should.
Riley,
work.
lay down.
Yeah, lay down. We'll
It'll
get you. It'll work. It'll work. We did like Bloody Mary and stuff, but nothing ever happened. I mean,
Yeah.
nothing ever happened. But I was always very scared. I'm afraid of Ouija boards.
Yeah.
Always have been. I never want to touch one.
That was like
Yeah.
a big craze that happened I was doing research on this actually a few months back around Halloween. Like the whole Bloody Mary thing was a big craze in the mid to late 70s in the suburbs. It became this huge thing. It became like an urban fad or suburban fad to do. And I guess the Bloody Mary thing started in like Victorian times or Edwardian times. When women it was back when like suitors were showing up on your like porch every day.
Weird. Yeah.
Young women used to walk backwards with a mirror up the stairway and
That
chant.
alone is so scary.
I know, and they would make a chant to Mary, and at the top of the stairs, you were supposed to see your lover's face appear in the reflection of the mirror,
pick the one.
and so you would see who you were supposed to be with.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it was like a trend that like women did in the turn of the century. It was like it was back when like
But distracted.
spiritualism was like really big.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. We were just kind of talking about that on Funny Feet of like that time where it was like you would go to seances or you would find your answers through spiritualism.
Yeah.
Like you would go to a Ouija board and be like,
Yeah.
should I take this job or whatever? Which is, ooh,
Yeah.
that's so creepy.
Yeah, and it kind of made a comeback in the 70s and got altered a little bit. Then it became
Yeah.
about like chanting to Bloody Mary to see her in the mirror.
No, that's too spooky.
So Betsy, I know on A Funny Feeling you guys get a lot of listener emails
Yes.
and calls.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a little
No, don't worry
verklempt.
about it.
I thought we would read you one of our listener stories.
Yes.
This is one I just pulled from the Bigfoot Collectors Club Gmail account, BigfootCollectorsClub@gmail.com. And let's see what your take is on it. So this is off the top of my head. I have not pre-screened this one, so we'll see. Okay, here we go. This is from Renee. Hey guys, great show. Love everything about it and believe it all. Maybe not so much Bigfoot working with
my girl.
aliens, but who knows?
Oh, man.
What?
I
Bigfoot
could
and
see
aliens?
Bigfoot working. I could see Bigfoot being an alien.
Yeah.
We can too.
Okay. Yes.
Definitely.
We'll talk about that in a
Yeah.
moment. But who knows? I can't disprove it. I got a quick creepy story that my parents told me when I was in my teens. In the mid-'80s, my parents and some friends were driving to the coast, Newport or Lincoln City or something. This must be up in Oregon or Washington. Anyway, to get to the coast, you have to drive through an area called the Van Duzer Corridor.
Ugh.
Whoa, that's a cool.
Van
That sounds
like
something out of Ghostbusters.
Like Gozer.
Like,
Yeah, exactly,
totally.
Van Duzer.
Gozer.
Beware, Van Duzer. Hail the night he comes.
Oh my god.
It's a beautiful forest, but it can be so fucking spooky at night.
Oh.
So while driving through the forest, they saw a man walking on the side of the road
Fuck that.
in an old-timey black and white striped jail outfit,
No!
holding a ball and chain.
No.
Dirty looking and with a big gray beard. They both looked at each other after spotting this chain gang looking dude and kept driving. Once they got to their destination, they asked their friends who were driving in a separate car behind them if they had seen him. Nope.
Oh.
Also, no one was on drugs, wasn't Halloween, and this area doesn't have any houses around, so it wasn't a resident. Maybe a resident ghost. Anyway, pretty cool. My parents told me this story after I told them I had my first sleep paralysis episode, where instead of a creepy monster standing over me, it was a little boy with freckles and dirty blonde hair in what looked like a
That'll do it.
Confederate Army uniform.
Ew.
We called him the Little Drummer Boy.
Oh no.
Could have been something like that. I'm not sure if he was of age to take any kills yet on the front line, but whatever. Anyway, that's another email for a different time. I gotta get back to work.
What?
Wow. Cool.
I wonder
Thanks,
if there
Renee.
was a jail around there.
I know.
Anyways.
That is
whether it's
creepy.
that is horrifying.
Van Duzer State Prison, man.
Are you going to Van Duzer State?
Dude.
Hell yeah.
How
dude.
much time you doing up in Van Duzer?
Yeah. Super senior, man. I murdered someone. That is so creepy. I always, whenever I'm driving on any road at night, am like, what would I do if I saw a fucking bride walking down the road?
Oh yeah.
Specifically a bride.
It's so scary.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone.
Yeah.
But now I've never even imagined like a cartoony kind of chain gang
Ooh, that
with
is
a big beard.
Oh, and he's carrying his old ball and chain around forever.
Oh,
Yeah.
like Marley. We were kind of about to talk about this before we even started recording. If I have a paranormal experience, there had better be at least one other person there.
Yeah.
Like with her parents, where it's like, did you just see that? I did. Okay. Because I worry if I have one, I will go crazy without somebody there.
But you want
You want to be
one
able to
so
validate
bad.
it, you know?
I don't really.
Okay.
I'm open to. I'm not.
But
Oh,
you're not asking for
I'm
it.
not asking for it.
I don't blame you.
I don't need that.
Yeah.
I
Who needs
believe
that
it.
shit?
I
Yeah.
don't need it though.
Well, our listeners over in the Patreon know this, but I don't think our regular listeners know that Bryce has had some type of encounter in the past year that we don't know about yet that he will not share with us because it freaked him out so bad.
really?
Sort of, yeah. Something
Sorry, I
like
put
that.
you on the spot.
Yeah.
But-
Thanks, Michael.
But I think that backs up. You're like, I don't want this.
Yeah, no, it was a crazy experience. And maybe one day I'll talk about
Yeah.
it, but I'm just like not comfortable to talk about it.
Oh my
That's okay.
God,
Yeah.
that's totally fine.
Thank you
Oh.
for understanding.
It's your story.
Holy shit!
Hashtag
I'm so-
it's your story.
Yeah.
It's your story to share.
But I've kind of I've experienced things not all my life, but I have a handful of things that are kind of unexplainable, and this can be thrown right into them. You
Okay.
know what I mean? Like we talked about on our first episode when I was like a young boy. Speaking of Ouija boards or something, I was like, we had just moved into a new house, and there were these like new kids that kind of for some reason they all kind of gathered around my driveway, and I remember some kid brought over like some sort of game board or something, but I remember specifically is like, we're gonna summon the devil.
Oh God!
Totally, right?
Great idea.
The new game
Kid.
from Milton
Yeah.
Brothers.
Can't we just
Totally.
play like kick the can
Yeah.
or something?
My mom's out working in the front yard, and she kind of overhears like just talk that she doesn't like. She's
Yeah.
a church going lady, and I remember she kicked all of them out. She was like, get off my driveway, and I was like, Mom, we're new here.
Come on, let us summon
come
Satan,
on.
dude. Oh.
But that night in my room, I remember not being able to go to sleep, and then through the window, this sort of like this red kind of blurry image. Imagine it profile walking across the window, and then it stops. The head turns right very slowly, just gazes into my soul with like these yellow eyes. And then, I just became like fright locked. And then the head turns again and it just walks off.
Ew.
And I told Michael like what it looked like was and I was like, you remember that ham what it was called Underwood ham, but it's like it was very
The Underwood canned ham.
Underwood
I'll pull it
can,
up for you,
but it was
Bets.
very devil typical. It had like the
Yes.
red blur, like the horns and the yellow eyes, and it was just very. It was so
This
creepy.
guy.
Oh shit!
We'll put this up on the Instagram as well.
That is so spooky.
Yeah, but I remember like just being. I didn't sleep all that night,
Yeah.
and it was like a glowing red. So it wasn't like some mask. I don't think, but.
Oh.
I don't know. That started my whole life. That started the whole thing for me of like, after that I was in the library checking out ghost books.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And then from there it's never stopped.
That's nice
know?
that it went more positive than
Yeah.
negative. Where you're like more intrigued by it rather than like, oh, I don't need this.
Oh, totally.
I gotta try to block it.
It's a little bit of both. It's been like, it's for me, it's been like trying to search for answers really of like what these things people experience. What are these things I've experienced?
Yeah.
What the fuck is the meaning behind of all of it?
Yeah.
And, what is happening,
Yeah.
Two takeaways from hearing that story again. One, fright lock is an awesome term that we should put
that
to
came
more
off the
use.
top of my head.
It should be like
fright lock.
Flight, fight, or fright lock. Like, because
I
that
know.
makes the most sense. It's like, I feel like fright lock
Yeah, that's
any
the
day.
first time I've used that word, but yeah, it's a good
fright lock.
one.
And
Yeah, I know.
so
Can go on
great.
the ongoing list of band names.
Yeah, exactly. We, oh
is
my
a good
god,
brand name.
we need to eventually make these all shirts.
Yes.
And then second, it just that story makes me think, Betsy, what you said about like at least it empowered you and you didn't bury it down, and that makes me think of all the weird paranormal stories that people have that they never share, they never think twice about because they don't have our weird brains, you know, being like, whoa. You know, that's why I'm like, this Christmas or this holiday season, when you're home and you're hanging out with your family, I've got an assignment for you. Start asking your family members for weird stories. Did
And
anything
give an
weird
example
ever
or
happen?
something of like to make it less of a like you're not, because I think a lot of people also are worried about, do I sound crazy? Like, I don't want to throw that term around, but I do think people are like, I can't tell people that I saw this red,
that's the
devilly looking thing.
That's
like,
the society we live in right now. There's some childish taboo on all these subjects. And you know, scientists aren't allowed to look at the UFO thing. Journalists can't play a UFO piece without hearing X-Files music in the back, you know? It's you can't talk about this stuff without having some sort of giggle factor that's really sort of, you know, childish in a sense, because, you know, there's things that are happening. And for us to just quickly blow it off as like, oh, you're just crazy or you're hallucinating or you're hearing things. It's so wrong. It's, you know, there's so much more to it than that.
Yeah, it's kind of, this is extreme, but it is kind of like mental health too, of this stigma that's out there where it's like people need to be able to talk about it.
You first of all, it's like you won't allow people to be crazy, but then you also won't talk about mental health. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
Like,
let's talk about both of these things.
You're like wagging your finger at the idea of crazy and now at the idea of mental health, where it's like, no, we need to talk about all of this stuff. Because we're all feeling it, like in some way.
Yeah,
exactly.
Oh my God.
All right, Betsy, we got a little game we like to play with our guests. Rapid fire.
Oh shit.
It's called Bullshit or Believe It.
Okay.
So I'm going to go down a list of things. You say bullshit if you don't believe in it, or believe it if you do, or if you're open to it.
Okay.
And if there's, you know, you can only use those two words.
Okay.
And then if we need to circle back and define some of the nuance, we will.
Yes. Okay. Fantastic.
On your mark.
Oh God.
Get set.
Oh my God.
Ghosts.
Believe it.
UFOs.
Believe it.
Bigfoot.
Believe it.
Angels.
Oh God. I'll say bullshit right now.
Gnomes.
We'll talk. Bullshit.
Fairies.
Oh, bullshit.
Unicorns.
They existed at one time. Believe it.
Prices take. Loch Ness Monster.
Believe it.
Alien Greys.
Believe it. Believe it. Why not?
Parallel universes.
Believe it.
Reptilians disguising themselves as humans.
I'll believe it. Why not?
Mermaids.
I love that. Why not? Attitude.
Mermaids. Oh God. Believe it.
Heaven.
Bullshit.
Hell.
Bullshit.
Dragons.
Oh, believe it.
Yeti.
Believe it.
Elves.
Bullshit.
Dogman.
Whoa. Bullshit.
ESP.
Believe it.
Chupacabra.
Believe it.
Demons.
Bullshit.
Atlantis.
Believe it.
Life on other planets.
Believe it.
World peace.
Believe it.
Peace in the multiverse.
Believe it.
Yeah.
Nice. Well done. Good. All right.
It's specific. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Tell me.
It's like a window into your soul when people play that
It
game.
really is.
The angels you wanted to circle back to. You said bullshit, but you want to come back to it.
Yeah, I think I said bullshit because I'm now just done with religion. But I do think there's positive, I don't know, something positive.
Yeah, some
There's
type
a
of
positive
entity or energy.
Yeah. And I do think there are essentially guardian angels, but I'm right now I'm very much on the like, no, I don't want religion to have anything to do with
Totally.
it. Guys, I'm going through something.
That's okay.
It's fun.
You're in a safe place.
But
I
it's
promise.
fun.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm having
You're
a
still
blast.
hashtag
I'm
following the
just-
fun.
I'm
It's all
hacking
good.
down angels
I'm
with my
thinking-
axe,
Yeah, fuck
chopping
them.
off angel wings.
Yeah, I think I'm just in the like, I don't think so.
Cool. Unicorns.
I think they may have existed at one point.
Why not?
Wouldn't that be fun?
I would
Like
love it.
during, I guess not dinosaurs, but right after dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Hey,
like,
when the
where,
age of
like-
dinosaurs, the age of unicorns,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
people.
Yeah, but like maybe with like woolly mammoths or something.
Yeah.
It's sad to think, though, that means that all the unicorns were slaughtered.
They all ran into the ocean like that sad movie.
Oh,
Right.
God,
Remember
the last
that?
unicorn?
That fucked me up.
Dude,
as a
that
kid.
I was
fucked
just
me
thinking
up
about
big
that movie.
time. I could not handle that movie.
I still don't think I
Ooh,
can.
It's creeptacular.
It horrified
That
me.
raging fireball?
Ugh.
No,
Yeah.
thank you.
No,
I
I
gotta
don't need
watch
that.
that again. I wonder
I
if
don't
that
need
still holds up.
Yeah.
I bet it does.
I bet.
It's
Ooh.
Tim Curry as the devil, right?
That's legend.
Oh, that's
thinking
legend.
of
Tom
Legend,
Cruise,
yeah.
right?
That I also want to see if
The
it
last
holds up.
unicorn. Is that animated?
animated.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
animated.
I've seen both. Right.
Oh,
Oh,
Right.
It's so
handle it.
spooky.
So
Totally.
weird.
I
and the
have-
animation style made me uncomfortable as a child,
Me
too.
too.
I don't know
Awesome.
why.
Me too.
Animation
Oh, yeah.
style made
I
me uncomfortable.
100%. I think because I was super into Disney.
Me too.
Right.
And,
the
so this different, more intense,
edgier,
harsh,
weird. It was like weirdly
Yeah.
sexual too.
Yeah,
Right.
it
She's
was
like,
fucking sexy.
you know what I mean? Like, it was really
Our
weird.
cartoons are gonna fuck you up.
Yeah, they are.
Oh man.
I have trouble. I feel contradictory of like gnomes and fairies. I have trouble believing in, but then Bigfoot, I'm like,
Yeah.
hell yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
You're,
And I'm even like, why not Bigfoot?
You're
Whereas
anti-European.
fairies, I'm like, yeah, maybe I am. Fuck that, like whimsical shit.
Right.
No,
We
I
just
don't
did
know
a story
why.
on gnomes 2 weeks ago, two
Yeah.
episodes ago, and there's like the story of this family, and I won't repeat it too much. In a farmhouse, separate families that both had a creepy tiny little man with a pointed hat and a beard fuck up their yard and scream at them and look in their windows.
Oh.
It's a weird story. I'll send you a link. You'll have to check it out.
Because maybe
It's pretty wild.
I don't know why it is though. I just have a harder time
Sure.
believing in those than
Yeah.
Bigfoot.
Well, because
and
they
stuff.
are so like crystallized in our like fairy tale lore.
I think so. And trust me, if there were little like that fat fairy from Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty,
Mm.
if that
Yes.
existed, I want that so bad.
Yeah.
You know what I found interesting is there seems to be like, and we've uncovered or discovered a little bit of it, but there's these correlations between this kind of UFO and abduction phenomena that there also is with fairy and gnome lore, also with angels and demons lore. There seems to be
Yeah.
like. I know famed ufologist Jacques Vallée seems to think that all these kind of things are related in a sense, that whatever this intelligence is or whatever this phenomena is, it seems to sort of change and morph with culture, with society.
Oh.
And like there's some old tales of like fairy lore of them like dancing around in a feral circle, like making a whirling dervish
Yes.
and then being sucked into it, or like, which is very much like a UFO leaving like these marks in the ground.
Whoa, that just blew my mind.
Yeah.
Because it's so true. I just read a pretty fun horror book called The Changeling, where it was kind of about like
Yeah.
evil, like little creatures stealing a baby
Yeah.
Right.
and swapping it out,
Yep.
which I've heard, because Marcy and I will talk about these like kind of legends. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, that's so
I
interesting.
think you guys brought it up too. I think Marcy brought it up on one of your episodes I listened to, where if you go into the fairy kingdom and you eat of their food or drink their
Yeah.
food, you're trapped there. Like it's-
Yeah.
and it's all very similar to abduction.
abduction.
And there's a thing there's a theory that aliens and fairies both they represent the spirit or the ethereal world.
Yeah.
The non-material world or another dimension, and what they're trying to do is create some kind of hybrid that is spirit and us from the material world merged into one that can coexist in both dimensions.
What?
And that's what all the
Yeah.
experiments, and that's why fairies are always trying to take babies and bring them over, because there's some type of attraction or some need for the human, the human body or the human consciousness to merge with their own.
And do
crazy.
you think they just appear as fairies or just depending on the person?
Yeah, we think the
That blew my mind.
Or the time, the
time.
culture, because they might reflect. They seem to, as Bryce has brought up, they seem to kind of reflect technology that's just around the corner.
That's right.
Or based on sci-fi based, sort of like, so in medieval times when you're all into alchemy and magic, fairies take on this sort of magical techie kind of thing.
Whoa.
And now that we're much more science and technological based, these aliens are taking on like spacecrafts or like metals that we haven't, elements that we haven't discovered yet on the periodic table, all that kind of stuff.
Well, and there's stories of like what have common themes of like seeing something like a UFO in the sky, but in the 1700s of what they would call dirigibles, which are just like floating airships.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? With people like on board.
Yes, yeah.
Which was very strange, but it takes on all the kind of properties of like modern day ufology, like, bright lights floating, able to like, defy the laws of physics as it moves throughout the sky. And
this is blowing my mind.
Well,
maybe I believe in gnomes and fairies.
Well,
who knows?
There was a time when we all believed in gnomes and fairies and bright objects in the sky, and we're going to talk about that during our next section, High Strangeness.
Sweet.
We'll be right back. All right, everybody. We are back, and it's time for High Strangeness. And Betsy, we're doing something a little bit different this episode.
Okay.
For our listeners out there, it is the holiday season, and last year I remember that I wanted to get into the most famous elf of all time. And then we just didn't do it.
Van Dozer?
Yeah, Van Dozer, the elf god.
Man.
Van Dozer, the destroyer of gnomes. Today, we are talking about
none other than
Santa Claus.
Ooh.
My man.
Heard of him?
So Santa Claus, of course, as we were told as children, came from it was short for Saint Nicholas, so Santa Claus. And the original Santa, Saint Nicholas, he was a Christian bishop who lived around the 3rd century A.D. in a area of Turkey, modern-day Turkey, off the Lycinium coast in a city called Myra. And he was really big on cracking down on paganism because the Christians in the generations before him had been like persecuted and killed in arenas off the Lycinium coast. And so he's coming in just as a time when like that's starting to die down and Christianity starting to really assert itself. He's a saint, obviously, of the Catholic Church. And little is known about his origins and the real man, but he was probably the son of a wealthy family who were also Christians. He was very generous to the poor. And in art, in iconography, he is often depicted carrying 3 golden spheres. And in Europe, he's most often depicted also wearing red and white bishop's robes.
Yeah, okay.
So the spheres comes from a story about a poor father in Myra who could not afford a dowry for his 3 daughters. And so when you couldn't afford husbands, you had a couple choices. Your family either starves to death or you turn those daughters out into the streets to prostitute them for cash.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, or you turn them into orbs. Like gold orbs.
Yeah.
Whoa, cool.
Shit was weird back then.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah, so this father was distressed because he didn't know what to do.
God.
And one night, a stranger in robes appeared in their window, and he threw 3 sacks of gold into the window to save the father's family and his daughters. And the stranger disappeared, and the man chased him down into the city streets, and found him, and it was the bishop, Nicholas. And so so that's kind of like that's why he's always depicted with the 3 golden orbs. In some of the stories, the sacks of gold are golden spheres.
Yeah.
So Nicholas's miracles include
Yeah, let's see how he earned his sainthood.
going out into the wilderness and banishing demons from village statues and sanctuaries.
Demon Slayer, huh?
Yeah,
Okay,
he would chop
okay.
down trees where demons were said to dwell, and the demons would run off.
Whoa.
So he was a demon crusher.
Okay.
There's a story about a woman who was bathing her baby in a metal bin and heating it with that was heated with fire
And
underneath. She was
started cooking
basically
it?
cooking her baby.
What?
She started adding a bunch of chopped carrots and celery.
That's when it
Salt
gets
and pepper.
weird. Otherwise,
Yeah.
heated tub is fine.
Heated tub is great,
when you throw in
but-
some carrots, that's
she was,
getting fucked
she was
up.
bathing her child when she heard the bells ring and it was time for worship. And this absent-minded mother ran off to church and left her baby in the heated tub.
Oh no!
And then she goes to church, and when she comes home, her house is full of smoke. And she went, "Oh my God, I left the baby in the tub."
Oh no. Oh
And
my
she runs
God.
into the house.
No.
And the baby is just sitting amongst the smoke, smiling and giggling because St. Nicholas had protected it from burning to death.
Oh my God.
Another story depicts St. Nicholas appearing on a ship that was in a storm off the coast of off the Lycinium coast.
Okay.
And the ship was going to crash, and the men prayed and prayed for a miracle to happen. And St. Nicholas astrally projects himself onto the ship and like helps tie down the sails and
Awesome.
like brings the ship safely into shore. And when the
That's
men
rad.
get back to shore, they go to the church, and Nicholas the bishop appears in the flesh, and they were like, "You were just on the ship with us." And so he's also the patron saint of sailors as well as children.
Oh shit.
Wow!
Yeah.
Whoa.
So Santa Claus, as we know him today, had his origins in the Netherlands hundreds
Yes.
of years ago, known as Sinterklaas, which was shortened for Saint
Santa
Nicholas.
Claus.
So Sinterklaas
Sinterklaas.
arrives on the Dutch shore in mid-November, and he spends the next 3 weeks traveling from rooftop to rooftop, delivering presents to children until December 6th, which is the anniversary of St. Nicholas's death.
Okay.
So Amsterdam merchants bring this tradition over to the New World in the early 1600s.
Okay.
And when they founded New Amsterdam, which is modern day
New York City.
So when they established New Amsterdam on the banks of the Hudson River, and they bring this tradition of St. Nicholas there,
yeah.
and they use that to help them get through those rough early winters and to kind of keep everybody's morale up.
Oh. Yeah, that had to be the worst.
Yeah. And in 1773, New York newspapers reported that the Dutch had really begun to celebrate this tradition in like organized form around December 6th.
Okay.
So as the city grows and industry builds and people aren't like dying so much,
Yeah.
we see in the late 18th century, Christmas starts to kind of take its hold in culture and really starts to become something celebrated.
I love that. I've never thought of it of like Christmas is a nice break or like a positive thing for when it's so cold.
Right.
Yeah.
In
Right.
a lot of places.
And the reason why we have Christmas lights is because it's a festival of light, because you have to remember the dark winter, especially hundreds of years ago, was dark and cold.
Yeah.
So we have the lit tree, we have the lit candles, and we have all this stuff to remind us that bright days will come after winter
Oh my
ends.
God.
That's why we have it in the heart of winter, and
Yeah.
it's set around the winter solstice, is because the darkest, longest night,
Yes.
we celebrate the nativity, the birth of Christ, and we celebrate lights as being a thing that will come back to us one day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty badass.
If you make it through the winter.
Yeah, if you make it through
Yeah,
the winter.
it truly is.
'Cause not
Like, if
everybody
you make it.
Not everybody did back then.
No.
People fucking dropped dead.
You would like get a runny nose and then be dead in a day.
like
It sucked so bad.
yeah.
I'm unfortunate to report Mary has a runny nose.
Oh no! Oh
Light
no!
a
Make
candle.
a death mask. Like, God.
So now we're getting into modern Santa.
Hell yeah!
Christmas becomes really popular in the early 19th century. St. Nicholas notably appears in a woodcut distributed at the New York Historical Society's annual meeting in 1810 by a member named John Pintard. In the woodcut, St. Nicholas, still a religious icon, is depicted as delivering toys into stockings hung over a fireplace for children.
Okay.
And in this woodcut, you see like a happy girl and a crying boy because the girl has like toys in his.
Yes.
And he's got like stitches, switches, like branches
Yes.
in his because he's been a bad boy.
Gonna take a beating, yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote an Episcopal monster, and I meant Episcopal minister named Clement
All
Clark
right, there's
Moore.
something there.
Clement Clark Moore wrote an account of a visit from St. Nicholas for his 3 daughters in, I believe this is 1822. And this poem, which we know more commonly today as The Night Before Christmas,
Oh.
drew upon Dutch, German, and Scandinavian versions of St. Nicholas. Moore describes Santa here as chubby and plump, a right old elf. This is also the first official appearance of the 8 reindeer and their names, which have stayed consistent today.
Oh.
These were probably inspired by the Scandinavian Joltomten, who delivers gifts to children from a sleigh drawn by goats, and the native peoples of Sweden, the Samis, who used reindeer to pull sleds.
Oh.
Speaking of other Santas, in the 19th century, people saw different versions of a toy delivering magical entities, spreading Christmas cheer all over the Western world. Swiss and German children received gifts from Christkindl or Kringle, which meant Christ child.
Oh.
In England, Father Christmas delivered toys on Christmas Eve. In Russia, there was Babushka, the spirit of an old Russian woman that originally misled the 3 wise men during the Nativity, felt bad about it later,
I should not have done that.
and now delivers presents at children's bedsides.
We need that
No
movie.
shit. On January 5th, in hopes that one of the kids will be the Christ child and he will forgive her for her treachery.
Wow.
I love that so
That's
much.
great.
That was really popular in
I'm
Russia.
just gonna go in a bunch of houses and hope it's Jesus.
I mean, Russia's Santa is so bleak.
That's
She's
amazing.
an old woman
Yeah.
who was mean to the 3 wise men.
I can see the 3 wise men like arguing. I told you not to listen to her.
I told
Yeah.
you. that-
She had directions. What was I to do?
Meanwhile, the star's like, guys, up here.
Guys, all you have to do is
Right.
follow me. I'm telling you, it's easy.
Don't follow the star.
No,
it will
that star
mislead
is
you.
a liar.
Go left and then right, and then make a right and then left.
I don't like them. And in Italy, kids looked forward to being visited by La Befana, a cool witch who flies down
yes.
chimneys on her broomstick.
Hell
that's
yes.
really-
Yeah, La Befana.
Wow.
That's
La
another
Bavana.
one.
Also in the
La
19th
Bavana.
Also in the 19th century, Louisa May Alcott wrote but never published a book called Christmas Elves. In Harper's Weekly, which was a magazine with a pretty wide distribution for the age, this is all mid-1800s, they wrote a poem referencing elves working to make toys for Santa. And Harper's Weekly magazine was a major player in shaping St. Nicholas into the Santa Claus that we know today. This is really wild because almost immediately you see Santa becoming this very commercial icon almost from the get-go.
Yeah.
So when people are like, oh, Christmas is so commercial, it's kind of always been that way.
Well, just you describing like in New Amsterdam when people were kind of more settled of being like, let's make it a bigger deal and
Yeah.
probably spend more money
Yep.
for this little time.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So, illustrator Thomas Nast created a version of Father Christmas for Harper's Weekly during the Civil War. And this version of Santa wore the stars and stripes in support of the Union Army. And in his first illustration of him, he was seen delivering gifts to the Union Army.
I knew he was a patriot.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
He would go on to draw Santa throughout his career, eventually establishing the red-suited Santa with the puffy white collar and cuffs into canon.
Whoa.
And he would also illustrate some versions of The Night Before Christmas by Clark Moore. And it's Nast who adds Mrs. Claus and the North Pole into the mythology through his illustrations.
Imagine
It's like a soup.
That.
It's like a Christmas soup.
Yeah,
like,
it really
we'll throw
is.
in this. We'll throw in that.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's a lot
in.
like. Yeah, it's a lot like if you follow like Superman's origins. It's like, okay, Superman started in the comic books, but then the radio show added his ability to fly, and then this TV show
really? He couldn't fly.
He
in
didn't
the
fly
first
until the
comics?
radio. Yeah, up in the sky. Look, it's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. Before that, in the comics, he could just leap tall buildings in a single bound.
Whoa.
He could jump far, but he couldn't fly. So you get, as more and more creators and more mediums come into play, they add to the cultural mythology of this character.
Shit.
And then suddenly Superman is like, shooting X-ray vision, heat vision and all this stuff. Santa's very, very similar in the way that people just start to add on to it.
Who would win in a fight, do you think?
Superman versus Santa?
Yeah.
Santa any day.
Yeah, Santa
yeah.
kick his
I
ass.
think
He would fight dirty.
Yeah.
Santa would throw sand
Got
in
him,
his
Blitzen.
face. And, yeah,
Santa's not afraid to hit below the belt.
no
Sure.
way,
Fuck yeah.
man.
So in 1873, another popular magazine of the age, it's either Goody or Godey's. I'm going to say Godey's. Godey's Lady Book has... it's basically like the Cosmo of the day, I think.
Yes.
I don't know. Or like Vogue.
Yeah.
It has an illustration of Santa's workshop on its cover, which then rapidly starts folding into the growing secular commercial version of Saint Nick. Godey's Lady Book was also the first publication to put a Christmas tree on the cover of its magazine in 1850, which greatly spread the tradition to readers across the country. So people are like, "Oh, cool! What's this like tree decorated? Let's do this!"
Whoa!
Yeah, and that of course has pagan roots of tree worship, and then also goes back to the solstice and illuminating the darkest night and all that stuff. So we see some of those old world pagan traditions get Celtic and Druid traditions being pulled in as well.
Awesome.
Handed down over the generations. Get a load of this. The first mall Santa appeared as early as 1841 as a life-size display in a shop in Philadelphia, and people came from all around to get a look at Saint Nick.
What?
Yep. And then in the 1890s, the Salvation Army started sending men dressed as Santa into city streets to collect money for the poor.
That long ago?
Yeah, 1890.
Shit.
But we really owe the 20th century vision of modern Santa to none other than
Coca-Cola.
the Coca-Cola Company,
Coca-Cola.
who created the current iconic Santa Claus for ads in the Saturday Evening Post.
Okay.
Their first ad showed a mall Santa, basically like one of these department store Santas, on his break in a crowd of people drinking a Coke. But then they decided to take it one step further and feature the literal Santa Claus. And Haddon Sundblom was the illustrator. And if you think of Santa Claus, you are thinking of a Haddon Sundblom illustration.
Oh my
Thank you,
God.
Haddon.
And these are awesome.
Haddon.
They're really awesome drawings. And he was heavily influenced by Thomas Nast's earlier depictions and the Clement Clarke Moore's poem of an account of a visit from St. Nicholas. We also have, before we move on, I want to talk about, Bryce, you brought this up earlier, a cool take on Santa Claus and his role in modern mythology from Terence McKenna.
Oh, man.
Here's an example. Here's a passage from Terence McKenna on his take on what Santa can teach us in modern mythology.
Wow. Can't wait.
An example of how a very ancient folkway can be incorporated into our culture without us even realizing it, and is provided by discussing Amanita muscaria. If you go to the Encyclopedia Britannica
magic
and
mushroom.
you look up Santa Claus, they'll tell you that it has to do with St. Nicholas, and it got started in the 11th century. But when you look at the Santa Claus story, it's a perfect mythologium to analyze from this point of view, because look what's going on with Santa Claus. First of all, Santa Claus's colors are red and white, the colors of the Amanita muscaria, for sure. Santa Claus lives at the North Pole. What does this mean? It means that Santa Claus lives at the Axis Mundi, where Yggdrasil, the magic world ash of Welsh mythology, has taken root. Santa Claus flies. This is what shamans do. Santa Claus is the master of the reindeer, the animal most associated with the Amanita muscaria. Santa Claus is aided in his work by troops of elves. And what is the work of Santa Claus? To build toys for children. Remember the DMT things saying, look at this, look at this. Well, those were off-duty elves, clearly.
Amazing.
So here are all the motifs. And I believe that for children in our culture, that all the Christer stuff is not what Christmas is about. Christmas is about standing in front of the tree on Christmas morning with the gifts arrayed and the twinkling lights on. Well, that tree is the tree that the Amanita muscaria forms its symbiotic relationship to. It's always spruce or pine that it has a mycorrhizal relationship to. So the number of motifs relating Santa Claus to a cult of Amanita muscaria, there's almost nothing but relational motifs there. And yet if you suggest this to people, they just back away. Well,
I fucking love that guy.
Isn't that
Back
crazy?
away,
I love that guy. All
Wow.
hail Terrence McKenna.
Yeah.
Leave it to him to make the case for Santa Claus is really just magic mushrooms. He's like, fuck all that St. Nicholas shit.
Yeah.
He's like, and it's, God, he's the
Pretty
best.
wild, right?
He's the
Yeah.
best.
All right, so before we go, it would not be high strangeness without a few stories that I found online about people who have encountered the real Santa Claus. Are you guys ready for this?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Oh my God.
This comes from an article written by Stephen Wagner from thoughtcode.com. Okay, here's a couple stories. New York City, 2002, 2004, and 2007. It was Christmas Eve of 2002 in New York City. My parents had invited some friends and relatives over for dinner, sort of like a Christmas Eve celebration. After that, I decided to go to my room to watch some television, but there was nothing good to watch. I then found myself pacing back and forth in the hallway. My house is big, so there was no one with me. Everyone was in the living room watching a movie I wasn't interested in. About 7 minutes into my pacing, I saw a tall, fat figure scurry away about 20 feet away from me. It was crouched down, too. It was even wearing some sort of Santa Claus suit. I didn't believe in Santa, but this just freaked me out. There was a strange man in my house. I quickly ran to where my parents were and told them all about it. They grinned at me and said jokingly, maybe it was Santa Claus. I didn't believe that, so I just sat down in the living room with my family and everybody else. Then it occurred again on Christmas Eve 2004. I remember it more vividly than the last one. I was lying on the couch in the living room. My parents were in the kitchen having a conversation about a business blog or something. Suddenly, I saw...
business blog.
So specific.
We
and
should
then
start a
to be
business
like,
blog.
nah, maybe not.
Also very timely for 2004.
Yeah, business blog.
Suddenly, I saw a huge man about 7 or 8 feet tall
What?
crawl underneath
No.
the tree and just vanish. Before it disappeared, it looked at me and said,
Weird.
very strange.
Wow.
So I went into the kitchen and sat with my parents. Similar happenings occurred the following Christmases. I recall in 2007, it was daylight this time, and I just happened to see another tall figure with a Santa hat trudge by me for 2 seconds. Then it was gone. This really happened. Claxton Kalmbach.
Weird.
That was the writer's name. Claxton Kalmbach.
Whoa.
You know what-
Might also be an alien.
You know what this makes me think is this is like so very Jungian, like the famous psychotherapist Carl Jung, because he would often talk about the collective consciousness and how perhaps things could materialize from that. And it kind of begs the question, like, if so many people like believe in this thing, can something actually manifest towards it? I mean,
well, you're
you know
talking
what I mean?
about a tulpa, and this article talks about how Santa might be a tulpa that is a collective thought form that we believe in so much we've actually brought it into some form of existence.
It's crazy.
Listen to this. Memphis, Tennessee, 1980s and 2009. I grew up in a suburb of Memphis, Tennessee. In the 1980s, I was 8 or 9 years old. My parents and I were coming home from a Christmas party on Christmas Eve. When we pulled up in the driveway, we saw Santa Claus in a sleigh hovering above our house.
He's got chills.
All we could hear were sleigh bells. The sleigh was illuminated.
What?
So that we could see Santa in full outfit in the sleigh. I remember seeing reindeer, but I don't know how many there were. Santa waved at us and then flew off in the sleigh.
What?
I'll never forget it, and I'll never forget my dad's face of total shock. He was an air traffic controller, and when he went back to work after the holidays, he asked about it, and nothing came up. In another bizarre twist, on Black Friday in 2009, I was waiting in line at a local Target store and broke out in a conversation with another lady in line. We were talking about Christmas shopping, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she mentioned that her brother had seen Santa Claus in his sleigh 2 years before. I stood with my mouth wide open because I couldn't believe it. Every Christmas Eve, I still think about him and look outside to try to get a glimpse. Mrs. Wages.
Wow.
Oh,
that's crazy.
My God.
Here's one more for you.
Yes, this is awesome.
This is called Quiet Santa.
Creepy, man.
I was probably around 8 years old when on Christmas Eve around 12 a.m., I had been lying awake in bed for about 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I was extremely excited thinking about the morning and opening presents. Anyway, I start to hear these very faint footsteps approaching. Slowly, a man in boots, carrying a sack, looked into my room, my parents' room, and then my brother's room. I'm absolutely 100% positive I was awake, too. I could see him fairly well because we had a nightlight across the hall in our bathroom. I remember hiding my entire face under the covers with a small portion of my eyes to see. He then walked away quietly and he was gone. Of course, I told my parents and brother in the morning about my sighting, and of course, they thought I was crazy. To this day, I'm 28 now, I ask my parents if they had anything to do with this, and they still deny it and say I was dreaming. I strongly believe I saw a spirit or some kind of entity of Santa. Richard.
Wow.
Whoa.
Crazy.
Yeah, there's a bunch more stories where that came from. I'll put a link in the show
look them
notes.
up.
They're pretty wild.
I've never even thought to be like,
I didn't
have
either.
people
Modern day
seen
sightings.
some, like, do people think they've seen? That's so wild.
Yeah,
Isn't that weird?
That is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, but this article goes on. I think it's in this article. And again, I'll put a link in the show notes that they talk about the tulpa. They talk about this idea of something being so believed in that it manifests into the physical realm
Oh my God.
in some type of form or thought
Yeah.
form or another. Pretty wild stuff, but I don't know. I thought that was kind of cool. You know, Santa Claus is some supernatural being and an elf. I thought we'd unpack and kind of look at his where he came from. And look, I love Terrence McKenna's idea of him being sort of a representation of like the DMT supernatural experience.
Yes.
I love Babushka feeling bad. I should not have misled.
She's
I
so
will deliver
great.
toys.
Yes. That's one of the best stories I've ever heard.
Yeah.
That's so...
Pretty wild.
Yeah.
Wow. Well
Pretty wild
done.
stuff.
Like, because it is like, why not, if people think angels, like, if they're seeing angels, why not see Santa
Well,
Claus?
and think about it. Like, kids believe in Santa.
Well, that's the thing. It's so
hard
esoteric.
for
like,
so many years in their lives. You know, like not all kids, obviously, but
yeah.
you know,
there's a great book, The Magic of Believing, you know, that it's like, you know, this is, and even like science is pointing this direction, you know, it's like, you know, things can materialize through our observations. You know what I mean? Particles can pop in and out of place just because we, the observer, are measuring them. You know, if enough people believe, then who's to say that it couldn't materialize?
Yeah.
Maybe this is what the UFO is. Maybe this is what the spirit is. Who? I mean,
look,
it's strange.
Santa Claus is everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially this time of year.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of ad time. He's facing. I would argue that Santa Claus might be more real than I am at this point. I mean, he's
totally.
He's
tell you what.
living an immortal existence.
Better not show up at my house.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Fucking kick his ass, man.
Beat the shit out of Santa, dude.
Oh man.
I'm locked and loaded. That's all I'm saying. Come at me, bro.
Yeah.
Come at me,
Well,
bro.
I'll say this, as Bryce always likes to say, this Christmas Eve, when you have a moment, why don't you step outside and keep your eyes on the skies, see if you see Santa flying by, right?
Sure.
Unfortunately, we got to wrap this Christmas party up. It sucks. I wish we could talk to you forever, Betsy.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Man,
Oh my
you're
God,
awesome.
thanks for being here.
I'll let you guys know if I ever see a ghost or anything.
Please
Please
do.
do.
And come back anytime.
Yeah.
Where can people follow you, follow your work?
Oh, you can follow me on social media at just Betsy Sodaro on Instagram, and then Birdie So Dirty on Twitter.
Nice.
Nice, dude.
Good
I
one.
didn't come up with
All
that.
right.
And then if
Awesome.
you're ever in LA and want to see some improv, I'm at UCB Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Sweet.
Baby.
Which I've done, and you are a tremendous performer.
Oh, thank
I didn't know it was
you.
you who was coming in,
Yeah.
but I immediately placed you.
I was
'cause
like,
you're
Thank
so
you know
memorable.
Betsy. You've seen her.
Thanks.
I really
Betsy and I
have.
have done Ask Cat a couple
Yes.
times together. Man,
So fun.
you're the best. You're
Ugh.
so fun to watch.
You are so fun.
Oh, well, thanks.
Perfect stories.
Oh, well, thank you.
Ugh.
Guys, seriously, if you're in the LA area, please come see Betsy perform. It is,
Yeah.
UCB Theater, I think, is still maybe gives you the best bang for your buck in town.
doubt.
I mean, there's a lot of good stuff. You'll always see someone great. Everyone, thank you so much for listening to the show. Boys, do you have anything to plug before we go?
Rate and review us on iTunes if you like what you've
Please
heard.
do. It helps us out. Also, write in BigfootCollectorsClub@gmail.com with your stories. Call in and leave a voicemail. We still haven't gotten a successful one of those yet. That number coming at you from Riley will be here in just a second. Guys, just so you know, we are taking next week off for Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
So Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry
we will not be
Christmas.
back here until January 2nd. We'll have a brand new episode on January 2nd. If you want more Bigfoot Collectors Club, check out our Patreon campaign. We're always throwing bonus reward episodes, 3 to 4 episodes, 3 to 5 sometimes every month at patreon.com, Bigfoot Collectors Club. And Riley, where can people call and leave a message?
Give us a call at 310-597-4803.
Get some weird stories from your family at the holidays
Yes.
this year.
Get them a call.
Yeah, Betsy, thanks again for coming. Say goodnight to everybody, Betsy.
Good night, everyone. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Whee! Santa!
Yes.
Let's do some DMT.
Bigfoot Collectors Club is produced by Riley Bray. Our theme song is Come Alone by Suneaters, courtesy of Lotuspool Records. If you like the show, please rate and review us on iTunes. It really helps get the podcast to more listeners. To support the show, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Bigfoot Collectors Club and unlock multiple reward episodes every month.